Glad you could join the Q&A today with innovators and hashtag Black STEAM. I'm Gerard. Let's get inspired.
All right, welcome everybody. Episode one, I guess you could call this, of our highlighting of Black businesses here in the Madison area. Again, my name is Gerard. I'll be the moderator for this event. And we have Jasmine and Adrian. Would you guys like to introduce yourself? Go ahead and choose who'd like to go first and tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Adrian, and I am the owner of Essence by Rain. I started about a year ago, and we've been going steady. Originally from Chicago, moved to Madison about 7 years ago.
All right, and my name is Jasmine, and I am the CEO and founder of Perfect Imperfection 608. It is my natural handcrafted body care line. I started in 2016, and I am a third generation Madisonian.
Nice. All right, well, that was actually going to be my first question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Where are y'all from?
Grew up in Chicago, just basically all around. And then at about 25, I moved up here to Madison.
And I am third generation Madisonian. Like I said, my grandfather, my father, myself, his children. And we've been in Madison for 5 generations. So my daughter and then my grandchildren live here as well. And if you see my china cabinet behind me, it's actually, I live in the house I was born and raised in.
Wow. Do you know where the very first generation that came to Wisconsin came from?
They came from Mississippi. If you ask me the name of the city or the town, I'm going to get it wrong. I want to say Tupelo, Mississippi, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they did come from the south and they migrated to the north.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, yeah, let's kind of dive into it. So as y'all being business owners, what are the challenges you're facing currently due to COVID-19?
With everything going on, it's kind of hard to want to go out and kind of talk to people or introduce and hand out the flyers and stuff like that just because of the distance. So what I've been trying to do lately is kind of just post on every big social media I have. So everything from Instagram and Facebook, Snapchat, even started to do a couple things on like TikTok just to kind of get into another generation. The younger crowd tends to just gravitate more to that. So that's what I've been doing. And it also helps that just talking to other people in the area who I'm friends with or telling my family back home to just kind of talk about and share posts or just take pictures and show it on social media about what products you bought from me.
Yeah. How about you, Jasmine?
So the interesting thing is my business will be 5 years old in February, so next month. And previous to COVID, I was working with a business mentor who wanted me to put together a website. And I was so afraid of that, right? So I was afraid of what that website might mean and all the additional pressures that come with a website. So I kept like pushing it off. And then February 27th of 2020, when my business turned 4 years old, I launched my website. 2 weeks later, the pandemic hit. So prior to that, I was going to different fairs and markets. So the challenge would have been, had I not had that website, the challenge would have been, how do I reach my customers? Because I can't see them face to face. But I have to say that the way that it aligned, launching my website and then COVID, my business has actually done very, very well. Because
Awesome.
now my customers have access to me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Awesome. Let's keep that up for sure.
Yeah.
You already kind of talked about it, but again, I'm gonna ask the question: what is your business, and how were you inspired to start?
So like I said before, the business I'm in is we sell just natural body wash and soap, mainly just soap bars. It happened about 11 years ago. I had this idea, and I was like, oh man, how dope would it be to just like, I'm 21 or so, just make something different that I straight out, high school and college. And then I just didn't have the right motivation to push for it. So I just never did it. So last year, I'm like, I'm broke. I need to think of a way to bring all these many ideas I have to life. And I just dug deep, and I was like, I've been thinking about this soap business for so long. Why don't I just do it? Just see what happens, to see how it goes. At first, I'm like, all right, let me do my research. Let me look it up. I want to do it the all natural way. So, what's the right things to buy? What's the who can I talk to? Who can I go through? And I'm digging deep into the Google. And I'm surprised I didn't get into the dark web. I'm doing all these things. I'm like, oh, so it's actually fairly easy. And there's multiple ways to do it, but the two ways I want to do it. Now, how can I make this into a mass production thing? So I figured out a way to do it in mass production. So I'm doing all these things, and it's like, this is easier than I thought. It's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And it's just one of those things. When I started it, I was getting customers from California, Atlanta, Florida, and I'm like, I don't know any of these people. And the fact that I just put up this website and just shared it on Facebook, people are like, ooh, I like this. Lavender and goat milk. Ooh, I got questions, and you would get these emails and phone calls from people like, oh, do you do specialty orders? Yes, just tell me what you want. I would do it. I will let you know how much it's going to cost, and I will send it to you, and it was one of those things, just like an eye opener. And I was like, you know what? I did it, and it's actually not doing too bad. I'm really geeked to see how it turns out in the long run, since I'm still new to the game. So it was definitely an eye opener for me, and I really enjoyed it.
That's a good story. I like that. Jasmine, how about you?
God, would you repeat the question?
My question was, what is your business and how were you inspired to start?
All right. So my business is a handcrafted natural body care line. I actually was inspired to start because my mother was diagnosed with cancer in 2012. And so she had a 6-month journey. She ended up passing away on the 20th of November of 2012 from uterine cancer. And I kept thinking, like, I don't want to say obsessed, but I kept thinking, like, why my mom, right? So how did my mom how was she diagnosed with cancer? Because I know that a lot of times we think about cancer, we think of two things, like smoking, especially when I was a kid. You always thought people, who smoked would get cancer. And then as I got older, it was always things that we ate, right? Because our food is sprayed with chemicals. But very rarely did anybody talk about the chemicals that are in our body products that we're putting on our largest organ, which is our skin. So I started to do the research on things that I use, right? Like my toothpaste, my soap, my deodorant. And the words that I couldn't pronounce, I would Google. And a lot of them would say harmful in small doses. So I started to think, okay, so if I'm using deodorant from, I don't know, the age of 11, 12, right? Up until I'm 80, and those chemicals are going into my skin. Once they're under my skin or in my skin, where are they going? They're going into my bloodstream, right? And small doses become large doses, right? And so from there, I started to make my own products. I started with toothpaste. And then one of my friends, and I journaled my journey on Facebook. So I was always putting, like, I had a mine versus their series. So I would put my ingredients next to an ingredient of something that I had previously used, right, before I began this journey. And it was interesting to me. I would tell my friends, right, so my ingredients are coming from Mother Earth, and they're things that you can pretty much find in your kitchen, but you can eat, right? And so then what happened was my friends started to say, well, how much do you like charge for? I'm like, I don't sell it, because it was just my thing. It was just my own personal journey. And I never thought about turning it into a business. And then enough people started to ask me, like, people are sending me private messages on Facebook saying, well, how much, Jasmine, how much you sell this for? And I thought, well, maybe this could be a business. So I got some girlfriends together who were crafters. And I said, would you guys mind having what I consider or called like a market? I called it Bohemian Bazaar. I live in a bohemian neighborhood, and I love the colors. When I think of a bazaar, I think of something that's very colorful, right? And it's like a street market. Like that's the vibe I was going for. And we had our first Bohemian Bazaar at the Urban League. I had two products. I had soap and I had sugar scrub, and I sold out. And I thought, okay, so maybe this is something, maybe it's just not me thinking, it's for me. And literally from there is where Perfect Imperfections was born.
That's awesome. I love background stories of how businesses get started. I think you miss that so much when you like drink a Coke or use Jergens lotion or something like that. Like you don't know what's all in that stuff, except like yeah, people tell you it's bad, but you enjoy it. But like when you get to hear like the from the root all the way till now, it's beautiful. So I hope y'all explode and be the next Jergens or the next what's the soap baby lotion or something like that. It's not a soap,
Sure.
but anyway. All right, my next question. What does it mean for you to be black in this work?
Oh man, it means so much, especially with me having like children, having a little boy and having a girl. It's one of those things where you can show them that there's so much more to this world than working for somebody, and you can make your own thing, you know. Um, Being that person saying, I don't work for nobody. This is mine. If I just want to say I'm done, I could just say I'm done. If I want to make something that I think is a good idea and just do it, I can do it without having to ask someone, can I do it? It just means a lot because there's not a lot of us in the business. There's a lot of us working for someone else and, looking up for higher answers from people and what can we and what can't we do. Um, it's just one of those things where to show the world that we are more than just an associate. We are business owners. We are entrepreneurs. We are people with our own mind state who are really ready to create something that's better than what you think is good. Just it's just to see us as a community making things and showing the world that we can rebuild our Black Wall Street is amazing. Just to inspire another Black person or to have a youth person come up to us like, oh man, you own that? Yeah, that's mine. I can legit say that's mine without having to say, oh, I bought it from someone else, but I still have to answer to someone else, you know?
Beautiful.
It is. You got me all jumped up to start my
I
own
know.
business
I'm like,
tonight.
yeah, that was beautiful.
What about you, Jasmine? How do you feel? What does it mean to be black for you in this work?
I truly believe that representation matters, right? If you see it, you can achieve it. And I'll touch on what Adrian said. It's interesting how creative Black folks are, right? We're innovators of so many things that we don't even know. So I'm going to give an example. So I run a driver's license program. I have a day job, right? So I have a day job in my business. And I run, one of the programs that I run is a driver's license program. And so a young person who was going through his online course, he emailed me and he said, Jasmine, do you know who invented the traffic light? And this was a Black young man, right? And I said, no, who? He was so excited to let me know that it was a Black man. Like, that's the kind of excitement I want young Black folks to see when they speak to folks like Adrian and I. Mm-hmm. And other Black business owners, right? Because number one, you are somebody. And don't let anybody tell you any different, right? There's nothing you can't do, right? And I'm often asked to speak in front of young Black and brown kids, and I will never say no if my schedule allows, right? Because you never know who, first of all, everybody's always watching, right? But you never know whose life you're going to change, right? You never know what young person sitting in that audience that a lot of their life, somebody's told them that they couldn't do. And then they see us and they say, well, look if they can do it, well, I know I can do it, right? So the importance of using this platform, um, to speak to young Black and brown kids and young kids in general, right? But most definitely young Black and brown kids to say, you know what? And look at okay, so this is what I'm going to put out there. Because one day Adrian and I will be in the history books. And just like that young man came across the fellow who invented the traffic light, they're going to say, okay, so they're going to read about us. And they're going to say, well, if they did it, I know I can do it.
Absolutely.
So,
like I said, y'all, I'm about to start a business tonight.
that's what
I
I'm
don't know what
talking
it's gonna be,
about.
but it's gonna be something. All right. Let's see. How does one begin the process to get to where you guys are now?
Research, tons and tons of it. I can't stress it enough. It's one of those things that there's something you want to do, you need to know everything about it because every day there's something new about the business that you're trying to achieve. With my business, I'm on my phone every day, nonstop. Okay, how can I make this better? How can I make it lather better? How can I make it smell better without adding artificial? You know, what can I do to make it a better product? So if you want it to grow, you have to continue to research, talk about it, look it up. And that's what a lot of people tend to forget about is they get comfortable with where they're sitting at and they just stop. It's like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing the same process over and over and over again because it worked. But just because it worked doesn't mean it cannot be better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my thing. It's constantly trying to figure out how can you make your product better. Or if you want to even just start something, look at how everybody else did theirs. You can follow steps, but it's also someone failed somewhere and they learned from it. So when you fail, you have to figure out how can I learn to not make the same mistake so I can continue to climb that ladder. You gonna mess up somewhere, but you have to figure out, okay, so if I messed up here, what can I do so I don't get back in that same rotation? Okay, so let me look this up. Boom, 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 boom. I got it. I figured it out. And if you can't figure it out, it's okay to ask someone who is achieved more than you have. There's always going to be someone who's higher up in their own business. And it's okay to ask. I'm not saying tell them like, yo, I need you to tell me how you did it. It's more of I keep messing up. I don't know what to do. How can I fix it? Can you give me advice? And it's okay to ask for that help. And a lot of people don't want to ask because they feel like I'm not going to let nobody know what I'm trying to do. There's so many other people in this world who are amazing at what they do, especially people who look like us, who are amazing at what they do, who want to share their story and want to help other people if you just ask, you know?
I like how you said that when you're on your phone, you're just constantly looking that up. Because especially for, I don't know, anybody who watches that, whether they're older, younger, or older, that we got this notion that if we have a phone in our hand, it's always for entertainment. And while that's true, it's about the entertainment that you want for yourself. You don't always need Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, you can sit there and do some research that you're excited about. Just because you do research, don't mean that you are being bored and reading all these crazy graphs and things like that. Which is why I'm so happy to be able to connect with y'all because to talk about the STEM that is behind your business. Like you said, like research is one of the biggest things that we talk about when it comes to STEM. And like people wouldn't necessarily think about it when creating a product, that isn't necessarily going to be this super technical, high end technology for the future, but there is research in every single thing and be able to make it better. And you also said that you can ask questions. So I hope you are ready for our audience to ask you some questions.
I'm ready for it.
All right, just saying. Jasmine, how about you?
So I'm going to piggyback again on what Adrian said. From my perspective, just start, right? Because there's going to be times where the best thing about starting is you can stop, you can pause, right? You can change your mind, you can go backward, forward, left, up, down, doesn't matter, but just start. Get comfortable with asking for help. I think one of the things that's interesting where when I talk to people about being an entrepreneur, a lot of people will say it's a lonely journey, right? But I think it's lonely because we don't ask. Like, we don't feel comfortable asking, right? I don't think it's lonely. I think there's moments where I'm like in my head, right? But I don't think it's lonely because along the way, I've met some amazing people. But the advice that I would give to young people or anybody, just start, right? Your idea, start it. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Madison is a resource rich community when it comes to entrepreneurs. There's so many different free resources. There's so many different organizations like UpStart, right? Like WIBIC. There's so many different spaces and places that you can go and ask for help. If you get stuck, right? And Google is your friend. I mean, look at here. I'm old enough where Google wasn't even a thing. Okay. So the fact that you can have a device, right? The fact that you can have something in your hand that's literally going to answer any question that you have, take advantage of it. Don't be afraid to try and fail.
Mhm.
And one of the things, and Adrian might agree with this, one of the things as I go along, so when I first started my business, I was writing my labels out by hand. But I'm always constantly thinking about working smarter, not harder. So I was like, okay, right? So I'm like, okay, so you like every label I've ever seen in the store, nobody's writing it out by hand. What are they doing? So then I asked Google the question, how to get labels, right? So so those are the things. So as your business grows and as you start trying new things, it'll start to come together. But don't be afraid to try. So I'll keep going. So that's where I'm going. All right, I'll
No,
stop.
that's amazing. I love it, and I also like how you guys both created something that you were inspired by, that some that affected you in some way, shape, or form. Like, I think that's really important that there's so many, especially here in the city of Madison. I do feel that people are so quick and ready to move away, obviously for various reasons. One being the cold, but there's so much opportunity here, especially for creating business, because we don't necessarily have a lot of business as Black and brown people that have services that's kind of for us, because obviously, people are different in their own different type of way. So, like, the things that affect you in your own backyard, like, how can you be the one to make that change? So thank y'all for today. Thank y'all for y'all great words of wisdom. Like I said, y'all got me all amped up. So I'm trying to stay calm. And yeah, from there, like, my only question, and I'm pretty sure the crowd wants to know, like, what is the best way to get in touch with y'all? What are the best resources to find you? Where should people go?
If you want to talk to me personally, email is probably going to be your best bet. I check my email multiple times a day, not only because I get everything from order confirmations to me emailing about updates when it comes down to the web page and everything else. I'm checking my email 24/7. If you wanted to contact me, just email. It's really simple. Email pops up like a text message nowadays. You have it set up on your phone. You can email me hello and it'll pop up like from sender. You know? It'll pop up just like that. And I feel like that's just how any business should work. The best way to contact. Now, I don't have the luxury of having, two phones, two, three phones you can call. Like, oh, this is my work phone throughout the day, and this is my personal. I don't have that kind of luxury, so I'm not giving nobody my cell phone.
Yeah.
So you're more than welcome by email.
And what is your email?
So it's Adrian, like the first name, ADRIAN, T as in Thomas, L as in Lawrence, W as in Wilson at yahoo.com. That's how you can contact me.
Awesome. And what about for social media, for finding specific stuff about Essence by Rain?
It's legit that you type in on Essence by Rain on Facebook or Instagram. You can instant message. You can post on the wall. I will see that within seconds. It's gonna be right there because I'm probably already doing this. You hear me? So I'm
Love
like,
it.
yeah, you don't get a response like that. That's gonna be the best way to talk to me.
Awesome. Jasmine?
So couple things. You can go to my website, at perfectimperfections608.org. And on there's all my contact information. So my email address is hello@perfectimperfections608.org. And my Facebook and my Instagram are also Perfect Imperfections 608. And I'll let you know if I can. If you do just Perfect Imperfections, you're going to get a ton of stuff, right?
Mhm.
But if you add that 608, you'll get me. And if I could say, I'll tell you the reason why I added that 608 is Robert Redford used to have theaters called Sundance Theaters. And in every city, he had a theater. It was Sundance 608. It was the area code of the city that the theater was in. So when I first started my business, I thought, well, maybe I'll franchise. And so every business where I franchise, I wanted it to have Perfect Imperfections, like 414 if it was in Milwaukee, you know.
Mhm.
So that's where the 608 comes from. It comes from differentiating me from everybody else. And then number two, because in the beginning, I was like, oh, if I franchise, this is what I want it to look like.
That's really smart. It reminds me of a time of a conference I went to. The speaker, his name was Thomas something, but very common first name, kind of a common last name, but he uses his middle initial on everything, and he says he does that because anytime you go to Google and look for somebody with that name, you're most likely going to find only him, which is obviously very important for business. So, yeah, great.
Yep,
Well,
absolutely.
well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Again, some people might be asking some questions and might be reaching out to you. So we hope you're able to connect. And to the audience, thank you for joining today. Please go check out those websites. If you need some body oils or you need some soap or anything of the needs, please go and support Black business. And yeah, this is part of our Saturday Science event from Discovery Outreach in the Discovery Building. We'll be having events all month long. February 20th is actually going to be our hands-on day. So if you want some activities for the youth to join in, please look out for our links for that, which should be available to you right after viewing this video. So thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.